He used threats and silence to control me. After years of carrying mental, emotional, and physical load alone, I finally filed for divorce and it came back. I'm 35 years old, and I've been married to my husband, who's 37, for a little over 5.5 years. We have a beautiful 18-month-old daughter together. On the surface, things seem fine. People see the photos, the smiles at gatherings, the polite small talk, and they assume we have a good marriage. But inside our home, we've been having the same two arguments for over 3 years now, and honestly, it's wearing me down. The first issue, and the biggest, is the complete imbalance in how we manage our lives and our home. I work full-time, and I pay for 85% of our bills. I handle the mortgage, daycare, groceries, utilities, you name it. On top of that, I do literally everything when it comes to running our household. I cook every meal, I clean every room, I do all the laundry, I shop, I plan, everything. My husband also works full-time, but when he comes home, he immediately takes off his work clothes, which he just drops on the couch in our living room, by the way, and disappears into the family room to watch YouTube for the rest of the evening. I've asked for help many times. I've tried calmly explaining, pleading, reasoning, even just handing him small tasks, but the same thing always happens. He offers some excuse, promises to try harder, and then nothing changes. It's like talking to a wall. Meanwhile, I'm doing the work of two adults running on fumes and still being made to feel like I'm asking too much. The second issue, which is ongoing but not as immediately pressing, is our sex life. He has a small porn addiction and struggles with premature ejaculation. It's impacted our intimacy and trust, and it makes me feel like I'm both emotionally and physically alone in this marriage. We've talked about it, but like everything else, the conversations go nowhere. This past week has just highlighted everything that's been wrong for years. We're hosting Thanksgiving this year, and I've been running myself ragged trying to get everything ready. I've deep cleaned the house, scrubbed out the fridge, washed the bedding in the guest room, decorated, prepped food, on top of doing all of the daily chores I already do. My husband? He hasn't lifted a finger. Let me walk you through a typical day. I wake up early, pack lunches for all three of us, mine, his, and our daughters. I get her dressed for daycare, make sure my own work bag is packed, and drive to the office. After work, I drive to daycare to pick her up, usually taking work calls on the drive. Then I do any errands we need, Costco, pharmacy, groceries, before finally getting home. Once we're back, I immediately breastfeed our daughter, start dinner so it's ready by the time he walks through the door, give her a bath afterward, then try to let her play a little while I clean up the kitchen, do the dishes, and tidy up the living room. I then feed her again, get her into bed, and only then sometime around 9 or 10 p.m. do I take a shower and sit down for the first time all day. This isn't glamorous. It's not something I expect a trophy for. It's just life. But I'm doing all of it alone while he zones out in front of YouTube like some overgrown teenager. I don't even think he realizes what it takes to keep everything running. Or maybe he does, and he just doesn't care. I'm tired of living like this. Tired of feeling like a single parent in a two-parent household. Tired of doing it all while begging for crumbs of effort or appreciation. I love my daughter, and I want her to grow up in a loving, healthy environment. But I'm starting to question if that's even possible with the way things are. Something has to change, because I can't keep living like this. Last week, I hit my limit. I asked him, again, for help around the house. Nothing big, just some support, some shared effort. I told him I was exhausted, that I never get a break either, and that if he couldn't contribute financially in equal parts, he could at least contribute with the cleaning. That sparked a familiar response. He told me he needed to rest because he was tired. I stood there, stunned, and reminded him that I'm tired too. That I've been tired for years. That I'm running our entire life while he sits back and watches it happen. He didn't say much after that. He just shut down completely. 2 full days of silence. Not a word. Just me, him, and the elephant in the room while I went on doing everything as usual. Then, out of nowhere, he asked if I wanted to go to his mother's house with him and the baby. I told him I would, but only if he wasn't going to ignore me the entire time. And that, apparently, was the match that lit the fuse. He exploded. He said that I've done nothing but bitch for the last 3 years. That he hates cleaning and he's not going to do it, period. And if it's that big of a deal to me, then maybe we should just get divorced. He said it like a challenge. Like he expected me to backpedal and beg him not to go there. But I didn't. I asked what that would look like to him, practically speaking. And calmly, almost like he'd thought this through, he said he'd get an apartment, sign the house over to me, I'd refinance it in my name, and we'd split custody and our daughter's expenses 50/50. Then he stormed out and went to his mother's house. He didn't come back until after 1 a.m. What followed was another 2 days of complete silence. I went about my day like always, work, daycare, dinner, bath time, bedtime, cleaning up, existing, but I felt something shift in me. Something subtle. A couple days later, I asked him how the apartment hunting was going. He looked confused. What? He said. So I spelled it out. I told him I thought he was right. That yes, I have been bitching for the last 3 years, but it's because I'm miserable, not because I enjoy complaining. That I've begged him for help, begged him to be my partner, and I'm done begging. I told him I agreed. Divorce is probably the best option. I would rather separate now, while we can still be civil and co-parent respectfully, than let this turn into resentment or worse. I said I didn't want to hate him, but I couldn't live like this anymore. And then, he said something that hit me like a brick wall. I only said that to scare you into shutting up. Just like that, everything inside me went cold. What he meant as a scare tactic, as a way to shut me down and force compliance, landed like an emotional gut punch. It brought back every ugly thing I worked so hard to overcome from my childhood, growing up in a toxic, emotionally abusive environment where threats were normal and manipulation was just part of the language. He knew what he was doing. He knew that threatening divorce would jolt me, and he used it anyway, not out of honesty but as a tool to silence me. Since then, something's broken inside me. I look at him, and I don't feel much of anything anymore. Just numb. Just done. The anger, the hurt, the sadness, it's still there under the surface, but mostly I just feel empty. And now he's doing damage control. He's bringing flowers, chocolates, trying to be sweet, trying to joke with me. It feels so performative. It doesn't move me. It actually makes me angrier. Because he only pulls this out when he thinks I'm slipping away. Not because he truly sees me or values me or understands the depth of what I've been carrying. I'm not falling for it this time. The truth is, I've been slowly detaching for a long time, and that moment, when he admitted to trying to manipulate me, was the final push I needed. I don't know what happens next exactly, but I do know this. I deserve better. Our daughter deserves better. And I'm no longer afraid to build a life without him. I did it. I actually did it. I filed for divorce, and barring any unexpected delays, it should be finalized by mid-June. That sentence alone feels surreal to say out loud. After months, years really, of feeling stuck, unheard, and constantly bracing for emotional blow-ups, I finally took the step. The moment the papers were in, a strange mix of terror and relief washed over me. At first, he fought it. He didn't believe I'd actually go through with it. He thought, like always, I'd eventually cave, shut down, retreat into myself, and let things continue as they were. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not anymore. And now that the reality has sunk in for him, he started to accept it. He's still clinging to some fantasy of a reconciliation, talking about maybe down the road, but I've been clear. Unless there is serious, sustained therapy for both of us, and I mean years of real inner work, I don't see a future together. At all. Once he realized I wasn't bluffing this time, something shifted. He became cooperative, at least on the surface. He's working with me on custody arrangements and discussing housing matters without throwing tantrums or storming out mid-conversation. It's civil now. But don't get me wrong, we had our drama. God, did we ever. There were a few moments that scared me more than I care to admit. Moments I replay in my mind sometimes when the house is quiet and the toddler's asleep. Thankfully, nothing ever escalated to physical abuse in the traditional sense. But there were a few times he grabbed me, usually when I tried to leave a room mid-argument and he wanted to finish yelling. He'd block the door or physically try to stop me from walking away. And let me tell you, I do not respond well to being cornered. I set that boundary real fast and real hard. It never happened again, after I made it crystal clear what would follow if it did. The worst of it, though, was the manipulation through threats of self-harm. The first incident happened back in February, shortly after I filed. He was still deep in denial and furious, absolutely gutted over losing the best things in his life, as he put it. He was pacing, ranting, spiraling, and then he said he was going to go downstairs and end his life. My brain short-circuited. I should have called the police. I know that. But instead, driven by some mixture of panic, stubbornness, and the same protective instinct that's always made me clean up everyone else's messes, I followed him. That was a mistake. A dangerous one. There he was fumbling around for his gun. My adrenaline kicked in. I managed to wrestle it away from him. It wasn't loaded, thank God, and then I locked myself and our daughter in the bedroom. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat up, holding her close, listening for any noise from downstairs, feeling completely out of control. I didn't call the police. I still don't know why. Maybe I was afraid. Maybe I didn't want to create a record. Maybe I didn't want my daughter growing up with that memory. Or maybe I was still trapped in the cycle of protecting him, even then. Instead, I called his brother and told him to come get him. They did. The next day, I took the gun unloaded and without any ammo, just more psychological manipulation, and I drove it straight to his parents' house. I handed it over and said, "If this gun shows up in my house or around my child ever again, I will make sure he never sees her again. Period."
And you know what?
That gun hasn't been seen since. Looking back, I see now how tightly I was wound, how much I tolerated and absorbed and rationalized. It's scary to realize how close things came to spiraling even further out of control. But that was a turning point for me. That night with the gun, it changed something. Not just in how I saw him, but in how I saw myself. I wasn't just done. I was fierce about protecting my daughter and myself. And once I crossed that threshold, there was no going back. He's calmer now, more passive. Maybe because even his family has stopped defending him. Maybe because the manipulations don't work anymore. Maybe because he knows I mean it this time. Whatever the reason, the tides have turned. I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm not fighting for scraps of help or affection. I'm not hoping anymore. I'm planning, preparing, healing. The finish line is in sight. And even though the road has been messy and painful and full of moments that broke my heart in half, I'm finally walking toward something better. For me and for her. A few weeks after all of that, after the gun incident, after the talks of divorce turned real, after we started drawing up custody agreements, came the incident that, to this day, still haunts me when the house gets too quiet. It was their birthday. My daughter and my soon-to-be ex share the same day. We'd thrown a small party for her, just a few close friends and family, some balloons, cupcakes, gifts. I was running on autopilot most of the day, keeping things light for her sake, smiling through the tension, navigating the weirdness of celebrating a child with someone I'm divorcing. After everyone left and the house began to settle again, I was walking down the hallway when I heard my toddler's little voice call out, "Mama, Daddy fall." Just like that. Like she'd said she saw a bird or spilled her juice. I froze. That's not something you just say. I went outside and found him kneeling in the grass beside the lawnmower. He looked up at me, completely calm, and said, "I'm fixing it." That was it. Like, he hadn't just done something reckless. But our 2-year-old hasn't learned to lie yet. She doesn't make things up. I texted my friend immediately. I'm pretty sure he just jumped off the deck. He doesn't seem hurt, but I don't know what to do. And right as I hit send, I heard his voice again on the deck, talking to our daughter. I looked up. He was leaning over the railing, way too far forward. His whole posture screamed intention. And something inside me snapped. I lost it. I mean full body, no holding back, red alert mode. It probably wasn't the most sensitive or compassionate response. And maybe it was cruel. But I don't regret a damn word. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "So help me God, if you jump off this deck and die, I will move and your family will likely only see her once a year. You jump off this deck and live, and I guarantee you will never see her unsupervised again. You step back over that railing and get both feet on this deck right now, or I swear to God, I'll make sure of it." He blinked. And then he stepped back. Just like that. That's how close it was. Then came the flood of guilt and manipulative self-pity, his usual. "You're driving me to this. I can't take it. I don't deserve to be left like this. You're breaking my heart." And I was done. I looked at him and said, "You spent the last almost 4 years breaking my heart and crushing my spirit. You don't get to play the victim now. I'm done having this conversation." As I turned to walk away, he grabbed my wrist, not hard, but firm. A controlling kind of hold. Like he was trying to force me to face him. That was it. I already had my phone in my hand. I didn't even hesitate. I called 911 right there on the spot. The police showed up quickly. I was calm, shaking, but calm. I explained what happened, pointed to the deck, explained that I had a 2-year-old inside who had witnessed it. They took him to the hospital for a psych evaluation. I was told, or at least under the impression, that a suicide attempt in our state meant a mandatory 72-hour hold. They released him 2 hours later, gave him some pamphlet about therapy, and sent him on his way. That was it. I didn't want to call the police. For so long, I tried to avoid involving them. I'd convinced myself it would just escalate things or make them worse. But honestly, I wish I had done it sooner. Because ever since that night, Since the flashing lights and being taken away for evaluation, he's been a whole different man. Docile. Careful. Almost like he finally understands I'm not playing anymore. He doesn't grab. He doesn't yell the same way. He still argues, don't get me wrong, but it's different now. More measured. There's fear behind his eyes now, I think. The realization that I can enforce boundaries. That I will protect myself and our child. Even his own parents seem to have washed their hands of it. They told him, she called the cops on you. She's crazy. Let her go. I heard about it through the grapevine and, honestly, I laughed. That's fine. They can call me crazy. I've been called worse by better people. If being crazy means keeping myself and my daughter safe, means not letting myself get emotionally manipulated or physically intimidated anymore, then hell yes, I'll take it. What they don't see, what he never saw, is that I stayed far longer than I should have. I gave grace when there was none left to give. I carried the load, the child, the weight of the entire household, while he tuned out and turned away. I asked. I begged. I pleaded for help, for balance, for peace. And now? Now I don't ask anymore. Because I'm done. Because this is what the end of the line looks like for me. Solid ground beneath my feet, clarity in my voice, and a child I will raise to never mistake chaos for love.